Welcome to a new episode of Ain't Got Time to Read, the place where I read a story, give you a breakdown of the plot and simply save you time. Now before we continue, here is your spoiler alert. If you have not read the story I'm about to discuss and you do plan to read it, then you may want to avoid this video or watch it at a later date. So that being said, let's dig into the plot of today's story. After travelling across the cursed earth and rescuing Megacity 2 from a deadly virus, Judge Dredd returns to Megacity 1 to a hero's welcome. Judge Dredd falls asleep in his apartment, and while he is sleeping, an imposter dressed as Dredd kills a bunch of newsmen at the Mega Times. Dredd is arrested and is sentenced to 20 years on a colony on Titan. Dredd is put on a spacecraft headed for Titan. Judge Dredd breaks from his chains and turns the ship around. He manages to escape, and Judge Cal has all of the judges searching for Dredd. He then reveals that he has control of the imposter that framed Judge Dredd in the first place. Dredd asks his informer Max Normal who could have built a robot good enough to mimic Dredd. He tells him it was probably a man named Chick Parker. Dredd confronts him but finds that Chick Parker is dead. The Dredd robot attacks Dredd, but with the use of an industrial magnet, Judge Dredd is able to defeat it. He takes the robot's head to the Chief Judge to clear his name, and Dredd reveals that there must be a traitor amongst them, as Dredd's personal files and data were used to perfect the robot. While talking to children on the street, the Chief Judge is brutally stabbed multiple times by 3 men. When Judge Dredd arrives on the scene, the Chief Judge is still alive and hands over an SJS button to Dredd before dying. The SJS are Judge Cal's Special Judicial Squad. They investigate crimes committed by judges and were the ones tasked with arresting Dredd when he was framed for murder. Realising that the SJS were responsible for the Chief Judge's murder, Dredd leaves his apartment to confront Judge Cal, but Dredd is shot in the head by Judge Quincy. When Quincy returns to Judge Cal, he has already took over as Chief Judge, and when he notices that Quincy has a missing button on his uniform, he threatens to kill him if he does not strip off. He then orders Quincy to continue performing his duties without any uniform on. While Chief Judge Cal issues new outlandish laws such as receiving the death penalty for criticising Chief Judge Cal, Dredd undergoes surgery which keeps him alive. He is dragged from his hospital bed and taken to Cal. Judge Giant steps in and convinces Chief Judge Cal to let him kill Dredd. Instead of killing Dredd, Giant helps Dredd to escape. Judge Giant and Judge Dredd escape and Judge Giant takes him to Judge Griffin, the principal of the Academy of Law. He has several injured judges that want to help. Judge Griffin asks Dredd to lead them. After civilians begin to riot against Chief Judge Cal, he creates a new law stating that civilians will be put to death if they are disobedient. This has Megacity 1 shaking in fear, as they are unsure what would be considered disobedient. Dredd, Giant, and the rest of his judges attack and attempt to take over Broadcast Central. Dredd takes over the broadcasting station and asks all civilians to fight against the madman Chief Judge Cal. Outraged at the riots that have started on the streets, Chief Judge Cal sentences Megacity 1 to death. While the rioters incapacitate a bunch of judges, Dredd infiltrates an armory and gets access to a lot more weaponry. After 2 days of fighting, Judge Dredd and the rebellion are close to victory, but an alien race called the Clegs attack Judge Dredd, causing him to retreat. Chief Judge Cal broadcasts that every citizen in Megacity 1 will be put to death in alphabetical order from each sector. As the public executions begin, Judge Dredd captures Judge Slocum and threatens his life. He tells Judge Slocum that he must stop the executions and gives him instructions. Judge Slocum kills the goldfish that Chief Judge Cal appointed as his second in command. Judge Slocum tricks Chief Judge Cal into thinking that Judge Fish's death was a bad omen and convinces him to stop the executions. Chief Judge Cal has a large funeral arranged for the Judge Fish, but then becomes enraged when he sees that no civilians have showed up. Chief Judge Cal appoints the leader of Clegs, Grampus, as his deputy chief judge. When everybody in Mega City 1 attempts to leave the city and move to the Mutant Lands, Chief Judge Cal has the judges and Cleggs force everybody back into the city, and anybody that refuses is to be killed. To prevent anybody from attempting to escape again, he forces the citizens and robots to build a huge wall around Mega City 1. Judge Dredd attempts to prevent the wall from being built, but he fails. It is built within 3 weeks. Angry that Dredd is still alive, Judge Grampus uses Clegg hounds to search for Dredd. Using taste instead of smell, the hounds of the Clegg pursue Dredd and find the judge's hidden base. The hounds attack Dredd. Dredd manages to kill one of the Clegg hounds and escapes as more Clegg attack. While escaping, Chief Judge Cal commands his own hovership called Justice 1 and opens fire on Dredd, causing him to fly off the road. Judge Dredd's vehicle crashes and explodes, opening up a hole in the ground, which reveals an old sewage system nicknamed the Big Smiley. Judge Slocum and some other judges start to discuss turning on Chief Judge Cal, as his madness has gone too far. Unhappy that the civilians of Mega City 1 haven't celebrated Judge Dredd's death, Chief Judge Cal broadcasts that it has become illegal to be happy and that everybody must get rid of anything that brings them joy. It turned out that when Dredd's vehicle crashed, it had a safety pod which saved most of the judges and Judge Dredd. The dwellers of the Big Smiley emerge to check the pod, but they are scared off by a brute called Fergie. When Fergie attacks Judge Dredd, he refuses to kill Fergie and takes him on in hand-to-hand combat. While Chief Judge Cal holds auditions for the role of Judge Dredd in a local play of which he chooses the smallest man possible, Judge Dredd has a hand-to-hand fight with Fergie. Judge Dredd manages to beat Fergie and knocks him into the Big Smiley's sewage water. Fergie is impressed and shakes Dredd's hand and offers assistance. Fergie offers to take the remaining 5 judges back to his hideout. Back at Fergie's hideout, Dredd realises that all of the judges must have been hypnotised by hypnotic suggestion at the morning briefings, and the 5 remaining judges were not affected because they did not attend. Dredd and Fergie head to the surface while Judge Giant and the other judges stay at Fergie's hideout. Judge Dredd and Fergie are spotted climbing out of the sewers by a patrol wagon. Judge Dredd keeps his badge hidden and acts like he was in pursuit of Fergie. When the judges are close enough, Judge Dredd overpowers them. Dredd and Fergie then sneak into Dredd's apartment where the Clegg have taken residence and bully Walter the robot. Dredd and Fergie attack the Clegg. Dredd and Fergie take out the Clegg and Judge Dredd fixes Walter the robot and tells him to betray him and call the judges. Walter is hesitant at first but does what he has asked, and Dredd and Fergie take out a patrol of judges before retreating back down into the sewers. Chief Judge Cal hears about Dredd's return. Walter appears before him and Cal asks for an axe because he will kill Dredd's robot if he cannot kill Dredd. Walter convinces Chief Judge Cal that he hates Dredd, and Cal falls for the lies and has Walter become a judge and broadcast across Mega City 1 for 3 days, telling lies about Dredd and painting him as a villain. Walter breaks into a briefing room and grabs the briefing video that Dredd believes has hypnotised the judges. Judge Slocum catches Walter and takes the tape from him, but before he can tell Chief Judge Cal has him injected with a paralysis drug, which prevents him from telling Chief Judge Cal what Walter is up to. Cal then has Judge Slocum pickled in a jar and unknowingly hands the tape back over to Walter. Dredd analyses the tape and finds the proof that Chief Judge Cal was hypnotising the other judges. Dredd wants a new tape made with a new message embedded into it. Their timetable is cut short when Chief Judge Cal decides that now that the city is perfect, he will kill everybody in the city and has gas cylinders sent around the whole city. Dredd has run out of time and is forced into action. Him, Fergie and the 4 remaining judges head to the Hall of Justice. Judge Dredd manages to get into the briefing rooms and plays the new tape. The judges realise what they have done and rally behind Judge Dredd. Judge Grampus and the Clegg surrender, but Dredd and the judges gun them down. Chief Judge Cal manages to escape Judge Dredd and the rest of the judges. Judge Dredd and Fergie race to the top of the Statue of Justice, and get overpowered by Chief Judge Cal's remaining judges. Fergie gets wounded when shot by Chief Judge Cal, but stops him from unleashing the gas by grabbing Chief Judge Cal and pulling them both over a ledge. They both plummet to their deaths. In the aftermath, Judge Dredd has memorials to Fergie placed around Mega City 1, and although people look to Judge Dredd to become Chief Judge, he appoints Judge Griffin as the new Chief Judge and decides to remain as a street judge. Thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you with the next video.